Good day from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Wendy Varhage, the Director of Public Affairs for AFMC, and with me today is our Commander, General Arnie Bunch, who wanted to make himself available to answer your questions. We've received many of these questions from you in advance, and we appreciate that. But please know you may still submit questions online during this live broadcast, and we'll answer as many of those as we have time to do. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to our Commander for some opening comments. Sir?
Thanks, Wendy. I appreciate that. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of Air Force Materiel Command that's out there. Appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to spend a little bit of the time with us. I'll be honest with you, this is the first time I've ever done a town hall like this. So when we get to the end, we welcome your feedback and would look forward to that, so hopefully we can make it even better in the future. Let me start with the most important thing that I can say today that you'll get out of this. Thank you. Thank you for what you do each and every day that makes AFMC successful and able to accomplish its mission. Our mission is critical to the Air Force's success, and you exemplify those things every day in the way you execute your mission. I've only been in the seat 2.5 months, and Caroline and I are absolutely thrilled that we get the opportunity to work for and with the 80,000 plus men and women of Air Force Materiel Command. I thought I understood the mission when I got in the job, but I've learned a lot over the last couple of months. We finished our immersions here within the headquarters and got a lot of great information. And we have been able to do one immersion tour out with Tinker, and that was very good, and learned a lot. And the thing I'm most amazed with through the immersions and through the trips and through the VTCs and meetings is just how professional our workforce is. So we're really excited, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Okay, thank you, sir. Let's just start out. Could you describe the AFMC mission from your perspective and define what your initial priorities and focus areas are?
So our mission is really critical to everything within the Air Force. If we want to project combat power and we want to sustain our legacy fleet, and if we want to stay on the cutting edge of technology, and we want to maintain a nuclear deterrent, and we want to test all those things out, and we want to be able to support the installations across the United States Air Force, we got to do it. So our mission is broader than any of the other MAJCOMs. I firmly believe that we have the most important role within this command, and our command is the most important if we're going to be able to achieve the National Defense Strategy objectives, and if we're going to drive to the Air Force we need. If AFMC is not successful, then the Air Force can't be successful. So I believe that's really my focus, is supporting those efforts to enable the National Defense Strategy and the Air Force we need. I also believe we have to operate with a sense of urgency. I firmly believe that we do our wartime mission each and every day across our enterprise, and we have to act with that sense of urgency in doing it. Overall, right now, my priorities, I need to listen and I need to learn. I have a lot of experience in a lot of the areas around the command, and I'm trying to get up to speed on those that I'm not as deeply seeped in knowledge. And I am learning a lot, and people are being patient trying to teach me areas, a lot of areas, and I greatly appreciate that. But right now I need to listen and I need to learn, and then I need to see what additional things or changes we may need to make. So really it's how do we support the warfighter, how do we act with the right sense of urgency, and having everybody understand just how important what they do each and every day is to what our Air Force needs.
Thank you, sir. So we've heard a lot about the AFMC We Need initiative that you kicked off. Can you elaborate a little bit about this review, and have you seen any early data trends that have come in, and how will you act on the recommendations that are provided?
So that's a great question. So the AFMC We Need is an initiative that I kicked off and that I'm the driver behind. It is, when I talked earlier about the National Defense Strategy and the Air Force we need, what this is really focused on is what do we need the command to be able to do so that we are able to support that National Defense Strategy and driving to the Air Force we need. What do we need to, what's impeding our ability to go fast? What is hindering our ability to execute the mission? And what I really want to hear for the, we're doing some external, but the majority of this is an internal look. I want to hear from the most important people we've got, our airmen. And what I want to hear is what are the things that are impeding your ability to get the mission done, or what is causing you issues, so that we can decide how we can go address those. We've done some external talks with some senior leaders, and we've done a lot of the survey groups and things. We're getting a lot of good turnout on that. Some have even sent me their emails direct, so I'm okay with that too. If you want to send me an email direct, I am in the global. But we're getting some feedback. A couple of areas right now that are coming up pretty common. We're getting a lot of things on facilities. We're getting a lot of things on information technology. We're getting a lot of things on manpower and hiring. And right now, based on some of the comments coming back, it is clear to me that we have a communication problem relative to what our mission is and how important it is. And that's one that we'll have to build a strategy to go after. Those are just a few of the initial ones, but I'm not trying to overreact. I need to see all the comments come back in. When we get those comments in, we will look for those areas that we have the most bang for the buck, put our efforts into those first and foremost. We are going to share a lot of the areas we get back, and if there's not a reason I can't share it, I want to be as transparent with everyone. I've had some people say they're not really sure we're going to do anything with this information. I've had some people say they don't believe that we're going to share the information. They're not really sure that I'll do anything with the information we get back. If there's something there and there's a gain that we can be had, we're going to go do things. I want you to rest assured with that, and I really want to encourage you to give the comments. I'm not going to know everything that's going on in the labs at AFRL. I'm not going to know everything that's going on in all the acquisition programs across the AFL-CMC enterprise. If you've got things that are hindering you, if we don't know about them, I can't take action on them. So what I ask for you to do is provide us comments so that we can weigh them out.
Thank you, sir. One of the questions that did come in related to that is, would IMSC ever become its own MAGCOM because of its broad mission and ownership across all of the installations?
So right now, that's not one that is on the table. The way that I view the mission of Air Force Installation and Mission Support Center, they are a key foundational thing that goes across the entire United States Air Force. And we are the MAGCOM that's accountable for how they perform that duty. Both, I want them to support us because we have installations, but I also want them to support the other MAGCOMs for what they're doing to take care of our airmen and their families. The way that I see that mission similar to what we do in the sustainment enterprise. We execute sustainment for the entire Air Force. Air Force Installation and Mission Support Center supports that mission for the entire Air Force. We execute the developmental test mission for the Air Force. So there's a lot of similarities there. So right now that's not one that's coming up that I've got focused on, but I'm taking anything off the table until we see what we think the gains would be if we did something.
Okay, thank you, sir. So shifting gears a little bit, despite our best efforts, the suicide rate in the Air Force is trending in the wrong direction. As such, General Goldfein recently directed the Air Force to conduct a down day known as the Resilience Tactical Pause to better connect with our airmen and civilians. How will this impact AFMC, and what can our people do to help?
So our suicide trend is going in the wrong direction. And as I've said, our most valuable resource is our airmen. And for me, and when you hear me say airmen, I want everyone to understand I mean civilian and military, because both, we are more total force and big A airmen than any other MAGCOM that's out there, given the number of civilians that we have. And our trends are not good in either one of those areas. So what I want out of this and what it means to us is we're going to take the pause. We're going to have some time where we get together in small groups and we talk. And we're going to talk in those small groups about what we can do to better look out for each other and protect each other, and what we can do to more care for each other. This is really important to me. And I've used this line before, and some will, I love everybody in Air Force Materiel Command. There'll be days I may not like everybody quite as much as other days, but I love everybody in the command. But no matter how much I love everybody and how much I want to take care of everybody, I'm not the person that's going to notice a difference in Airman Johnson working on the flight line at Edwards Air Force Base, or in Miss Smith who's working in a program office at Tinker, or Mr. Jones who's working in the depot. The people who are going to notice those differences and notice any changes, they're you. They're the people who are interacting with them on a day-to-day basis. You all are the ones best equipped to notice any changes and ask questions. Please don't be afraid to ask questions. You never know what a difference you're going to be able to make. You never know what a difference you can make simply by asking someone, hey, are you okay? And if you find out something's not okay, we need to take actions. So what I hope comes out of the small groups as we do this is more of a bonding and a relationship that we have, and give us a little bit of time to step away from the day-to-day. We're all very, very busy. What I'm really hoping it allows us to do is have a dialogue with each other about what's really important and how we can better take care of each other. And my encouragement to you is look out for each other. If you notice anything different, ask. That's the best thing that we can get out of this. We need to turn this trend around the other way.
Okay, thank you, sir. So we've heard a lot in the news about issues with privatized housing and mold in the dormitories recently. What is the command doing to get after these issues?
Yeah, so let me go back to our airmen are our most valuable resource, and we owe them the ability to live and their family members to have safe living conditions and workspaces. That's critical for what we do overall. I had senior leader, squadron directors, squadron commanders in here a couple of weeks ago, and the message to them was, if any of your airmen come to you with an issue or a concern, take time out of your busy day, listen to them, find out what it is, and raise it to our attention level so that we can immediately get after these things. The way that I view these issues, I believe these are the equivalent of an urgent operational need. For those that aren't familiar, an urgent operational need is something that comes in from a combatant commander or from a major command that they have an issue that needs to be resolved for even what they're doing in combat or other things. To me, the fact that our families in many cases are living in some of these conditions and the fact that we need to address many of these things, I treat that as an urgent operational need. That's the message that I've given the Air Force Installation and Mission Support Center, and the message that I've given out to our center commanders and to the Air Force Civil Engineering Center. For this command, this is an urgent operational need. We have to get after this. We need to be transparent with the families. We need to talk about what we're doing. That's the message to everybody involved. So if you don't believe you're being heard, I'd encourage you to go to your first line commander or director and let them funnel it up. If that doesn't work, take it up another step. And as I said earlier, if that doesn't work, I'm in the global. Okay?
Sir, thank you. So we've heard a lot about changes coming to the medical treatment facilities and the transformation that's going on across the whole Defense Health Agency. Can you talk a little bit about how that will impact our command, but more importantly, how it will impact our active duty airmen and their family members?
Yeah, so this is a big change. This is probably the biggest change that our military healthcare system has gone through in probably the last 70 years. So it's a significant change in the way we're going to do business. There are multi-phases to this, so I'll touch on some of the ones that are probably the bigger ones that are the most, that I would say, impactful, but that's not to say there aren't other things going on. The Defense Health Agency is going to take over the oversight of our military treatment facilities. That's going to be one of the things that we're overall doing. We're going to shift what our military treatment facilities, for the most part, I say for the most part because each individual installation is going to be looked at differently. But for the most part, the focus of the military treatment facilities is going to be readiness for our airmen so that they can execute their mission and be ready to deploy and do what we need to do. That's going to be their primary focus. We're forming 2 new squadrons within the military treatment facilities. One of those is going to be predominantly on the military side. The other one's going to be what we do to take care of the other aspects. A lot of our families are going to be going out into the private sector for their health care. That's going to be done in a phased-in approach to make sure that we take care of those families. I believe it's critical that we do this the right way so that our airmen and their families get the health care they need. I believe this is a retention issue that we need to address and take care of our families the right way. We recruit airmen, we retain families, and we got to make sure we provide the right family care here as we go forward. We're taking, for us in AFMC, we're very involved. We're making sure we're taking the Defense Health Agency people out to many of our installations so that they can look at what the network care can provide. And if it's not adequate, then we need to make sure we're taking steps to take care of those families by leaving some of those people that may not remain in the military treatment facilities there to take care of those families. We're looking at those things that are unique to our mission, like occupational health, which is key at our logistics complexes, and how do we ensure we have that care taken care of. Recently, we non-concurred with one of the things that had been put up there because we weren't sure that our concerns were being addressed. So what I want to assure everyone is we are actively engaged in how this is involved so that we're taking care of our mission, our airmen, and their families. So that's our big focus. There are a lot of questions that are out there. We're talking to our civic leaders, and we informed them about that just last week to make sure they're aware. For those families that have questions, I would encourage you to go to either your key spouse or the squadron commander, squadron director. Put those questions out there. They should be funneling those up so that we can get them answered to make sure we're doing it. This is a significant change. What I'm asking for are metrics so that we can ensure that we are providing the right levels of care so that we don't drop the ball on this. We got to get this right. This one to me is very, very important.
Sir, thank you. We're going to spend the next couple questions talking about retention and recruiting talent and some of the things related to that. So one of the key things is the ability to work in modern state-of-the-art facilities. But as you know, a lot of our facilities and bases are not up to par and really are out of date. And in particular, we had a question that was referring to, a new base gym at Edwards. So there's a lot of different things going on. What can the command do to start getting after some of these issues?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And across our Air Force, this is not unique to Air Force Materiel Command. Our facilities over time have not continued to be updated and modernized the way we need them to. Our backlog of work orders and the amount of money that we've got in back work continues to grow. We are highlighting those issues up both to the Air Force Installation and Mission Support Center, and we're also highlighting up to the senior leaders within the Pentagon to include our Secretary and our Chief. Secretary Wilson, before she left, signed, and her and the Chief signed an installation strategy to invest, to buy down some of that risk and to buy down some of those back orders and to improve the facilities. That's been signed. It's a strategy. We're working on our budgeting process right now to see how much of that we can support and how quickly we can get there. But it was to have a document signed by the Secretary of the Air Force and the Chief that identifies that we're falling behind is a key step to me in being able to address those shortfalls. My first assignment at Edwards was in 1990. The facility hadn't changed any in the gym. Played basketball and slipped on the floor at times, so I'm very familiar with that one and many of the other gymnasiums and other facilities we have across our enterprise. We're working to compete many of those ideas. I'm not going to give you we're going to fund all these. I can't do that. That would be fallacy of me to tell you that as your commander. What I can say is we are addressing this and trying to raise it to senior leaders so that we can get after it. So we're trying. And I'll keep you posted on how we're doing as we move forward. One of those I know that ties into that is our IT infrastructure. That's one that, as I mentioned earlier in some of the feedback we're getting on the AFMC we need, that one we got to go work. One of the things we're trying to do is capture our downtime and the loss of productivity so that we can better inform senior leaders as to exactly the impacts and ramifications. What happens when we, based on our business, we're more business for productivity at the Sustainment Center, managing programs at the Lifecycle Management Center, transferring data for the lab and working programs and all that across our enterprise. We're probably more IT dependent than many of the other MAGCOMs. So we're trying to quantify and qualify what it is that we lose when we lose that so that we're making more informed decisions about our investments. That's the other piece we're trying to get after.
Okay, thank you, sir. So you talk a lot about the importance of our people, and what are we doing to attract and retain the talent that we need?
So a couple things we are doing, and we've got to do even better. And I praise Mr. Snodgrass and our teams that are out there across our enterprise looking at some of these innovations. We're using new authorities that we've been granted by Congress and by the Office of Secretary of Defense. We're using direct hire authorities we didn't have previously to bring people in much more directly and much more quickly. We are using headhunters now to go after certain job skills that are unique and special that we need. We're holding job fairs, and we're actually giving jobs at these job fairs and immediately bringing people in and avoiding some of those things that we have had to do before. We've taken back from, we had taken certain components of the hiring process, given those to other organizations. We've now brought them back into AFMC, and we're already seeing improvements in turn times, in processing times to bring people on board. Those are ones we're doing. We have to continue to work in this area. We have to, it's not just about recruiting. We have to be able to reward and award and retain. A lot of that deals with how do we communicate, how do we provide rewards, how do we award. And we're going to have to do internal looks at what works in the commercial enterprise, how can we bring those in to our enterprise, and if we need to change laws or guidelines or what we need, those I need to understand. And I've already told our personnel community that if we need to go champion something to change rule sets, I'm happy to take it on if you can show me the return on investment. So we are making strides. I like the fact that we're doing acquisition demonstration. I like the fact we're doing lab demonstration. I like a lot of the initiatives we're doing. We're seeing progress. We need to continue to see that progress. And it's just like the art of the possible in the sustainment center. When you find you've got a shortfall or you've got something that's a stumbling block, you attack that, you streamline that part of the process out, you find the next roadblock, you go attack that. We're going to have to do some of that over time and evolve this so that we can do it better.
Okay, thank you, sir. So continuing with the same theme, many organizations, both inside and outside of the federal government, encourage teleworking as a way to attract and retain the quality workforce. What is the AFMC policy regarding telework?
So telework is one that we acknowledge as a tool that is out there for the commanders to utilize in the right cases. It is not one that I have, as the MAJCOM commander, set a global policy that what we have to offer. What I want to do is this has been pushed to the centers and pushed down below that, even within the centers. So what I would encourage you to do, if you believe telework fits into the job skill set that you have, approach your leaders, approach your supervisors, and work it through those chains so that they can look at it from a mission impact and how we get our business done philosophy. And if they support it in the field, then I'm not the one that would say, no, don't do it. But I don't believe that's the right place for me to put a policy out that everybody's got to do it exactly the right way. I think each situation is dependent, and I trust the commanders in the field to be able to make those calls and work that through the civilian personnel offices.
Okay, thanks, sir. So we've had several questions related to the decision to eliminate civilian PT time at the Air Force Sustainment Center. Will there be a new incentive program that replaces that, or would you consider, delegating that down to the Air Base Wing commanders or supervisors to manage instead of the blanket policy?
So I don't see it. Let me start in a reverse order there. I don't see this as something I would delegate to the Air Base Wing commanders. To me, that's outside their job jar to understand the mission impacts to the sustainment center, to the logistics complex, to the supply chain wing, and everything else that goes on there. So I don't see it going to the Air Base Wing commanders. I don't see that as being one that I would try to go with. This is not one that's across the Air Force. It's not one that's across AFMC. This is one that Lieutenant General Kirkland, the Sustainment Center commander, made based off a mission imperative for readiness. He looked at all the factors, and he's the one that looked at the productivity lost. He's the one that looked at the hours that we were losing, and right now their rough estimate of that is about $150 million productivity impact. and about 500,000 work hours that we are losing the ability to generate and do this work that is impacted by that. That was what drove Gene to make that kind of a call. He didn't take it lightly, and he is setting up metrics to collect and look at all those impacts so that we can weigh it out. It was a temporary cessation or stop of that for a year, and then we'll evaluate and we will go forward. But right now I'm not looking to put it that I would leave it to General Kirkland, but I don't think we're looking at an alternative plan. We are looking at how to make the fitness facilities available that our airmen can use, and we believe that is critical. But from a mission imperative and readiness perspective, this is the decision General Kirkland's made, and I fully support it.
Okay, thanks, sir. So shifting gears just a bit,
okay.
You've said that our peer adversaries are developing new capabilities that are starting to erode our technical advantage as a nation. What are some of the new things that AFMC is doing to counter these threats, to include the availability of inexpensive, small, unmanned aerial systems?
So that is a reasonably short question that I could probably spend an hour trying to address. So the things that, a couple of things we're trying to do, and I'll talk broad first, and then I'll go after small UAS because we are the lead MAGCOM for that, and I'll if I forget that, hit me, and I'll come back to it. Politely hit me, please. We are, a couple things we're trying to do. We're trying to streamline. We're trying to use the authorities that Congress has given us to do experimentation, prototyping, Section 804 things to push capabilities out. We're going through a strategy right now to look at how to implement the S&T 2030 plan, which is getting at technological advantages and how to move that technology at the speed of relevance into the field. I think that plays a key part in this. We're partnering with AFWorks and a bunch of different organizations. We're doing pitch days to get new ideas in to see how we can innovate and how we can move forward in those areas to try to get capabilities into the field quickly and move. I think I said it, but delegating is key. If you don't have, coming to me in a lot of cases takes time. Going to Dr. Roper takes time. If we can delegate authorities down and you can make a decision at a lower level, then I'm all good with that. If you've got the right wherewithal to do it, move out, let's get going. So those are things that we're doing internally. And I'd say those are pretty broad, particularly for counter small UAS. One of the things that we just recently had, we had a pitch day for counter small UAS. One of the other things, and that brings in innovative ideas. I don't have the results of that. I know that we awarded some small business innovative research contracts, and we'll let those go out and see what they deliver so that we can determine what we can bring in to give us more capabilities. Another one we're doing in this area is we're designing the system with an open mission system architecture. What that means is that if a new technology comes along that provides a capability against counter small UAS, then we can quickly put it into the field without as much testing as we may have had to do in the past, and we can utilize that. We're looking very broadly. We're looking at any industry ideas that are out there for capabilities we can do. The other one we're doing that may not be on everyone's immediate forefront of their thought is we're working with the Federal Aviation Administration. We're working with multiple other organizations that have a say in what capabilities we can and cannot turn on, so that as we develop these things, we don't get a great capability and bring it right to the forefront and then put it on the shelf because we can't turn it on. So we're looking innovatively at how we do those things as well. So there are a lot of efforts underway to try to go faster, and we'll see how those progress. We'll learn lessons and we'll move forward.
Okay, sir, thank you. So related to the innovation comment you made, a lot of us are unclear what innovation actually means relative to the AFMC mission. What are some of the things, in addition to what you've already mentioned, that is the command doing to kind of leverage innovation across our entire mission set?
So it's interesting. Innovation is really kind of hard to describe, and I would say if you ask the 80,000 men and women of Air Force Materiel Command, you'd get 80,000 different answers as to exactly what it means. For some people, innovation is some cutting-edge technology that no one's ever thought of. For others, innovation is simply changing a process that we didn't use before. And so I and I'm for all of them, okay? I don't want to stifle it and give it too vernacular of a, I don't want to handcuff anybody with their own definition of innovation. We have great efforts going on in the Sustainment Center, where they've got innovation centers and cells set up to do how to use additive manufacturing. They got a lot of those. We're doing innovative things with software development in our Sustainment Center, in the Lifecycle Management Center, how we utilize our people, how we move people around. We're using innovation in the ground-based strategic deterrent acquisition, because we've got a model-based systems engineering approach that's going to allow us to do digital engineering. There are a lot of great innovative ideas flowing in through the test center. I know that the 412 Test Wing's doing some amazing things. So there are a lot of great innovative things that are going on. Pitch days to me are a great innovative idea. So we got a lot of great work in a lot of different ways. What we need to do is capitalize on what's working in one place and then promulgate that out to the other parts of our enterprise, so that I don't need 5 people solving the same problem if I can avoid it. 5 locations solving the same problem if I can avoid it. If the 412 Test Wing under Dragon Tykert finds an answer and they got a way to go do it, then I'm hoping that they can share that with General Schmidt and General Kubinick and all the other locations, so that we don't have to go attack it multiple places.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So obviously AFMC has a large civilian workforce. What do you see as the role of civilians in terms of helping the Air Force kind of meet the requirements of the NDS? And then in particular, as a follow-on to that, about wage grade employees, how do we see their career development and progression? So just talk a little bit about civilian importance in our command.
Yeah, one of the things that I've tried to forbid within the center staff here is, when anyone talks to me about civilians and military, what I tell them is, I want to hear about airmen. Because I see our civilian workforce as key, and they're part of our overall airmen that we've got to take care of, we've got to develop, we've got to make sure we're doing the right things for them. They are key to our ability to go forward. Our civilian workforce is extremely diverse, and we are heavily dependent on each and every one of them. It ranges from PhDs in areas that I couldn't even begin to announce what they got their PhD in, to men and women that are doing things on installations each and every day and doing things within the Sustainment Center each and every day to accomplish the mission. So we are an extremely diverse organization. Each and every airman is critical to our ability to do it. We need to create an environment where each and every one of them has the opportunity to succeed in their workplace and not be hindered in their ability to succeed. And we need to be able to develop them so that they can grow into what they want to be and get those opportunities. So our civilian workforce, our airmen, critical to what we're going to be able to do in this MAJCOM. And having served in this MAJCOM, I started in this MAJCOM in 1992. Many of the people that have mentored me, guided me, shaped what I am today as an Air Force officer are civilians. They've taught me. I learn each and every day from the many men and women that are out there who are civilian airmen. So very critical to what we're doing.
Okay, thanks, sir. So somewhat related to our earlier question about resiliency, can you explain the wingman concept across the command? And in particular, what resources does the command have in place for our military and civilian airmen, and especially their families in times of need, which obviously was obvious this weekend here in the Dayton area with the tragedies of this weekend? Yeah,
so the importance of those agencies couldn't be any more critically witnessed than what happened at the tragedy at Dayton this week. And I know each location's had their tragedies, but this is the one that's the newest one. But the fact that Colonel Sherman and the team here put the helping agencies, made them available for 2 straight days for everyone, and got messages out to all the leaders that if they had people that needed assistance, they would support them. That's what this is really all about. That's truly being wingman and looking out for each other. And making sure that we let everybody know the employee assistance programs were available. for those civilians that are out there who that's available 24/7. They can call anytime and they talk to a person. They're not getting a voicemail. So those are assets that we have always available. To me, the wingman concept goes back to, and I can't, as a bomber guy and learning all this, it wasn't exactly the way we did bomber ops, although we did flying formations. But it's kind of comes out of the concept of employing air power in formations and looking out for each other. And the wingman being the one that's watching what lead's doing and making sure they're protecting them and letting them know what's going on and never leaving them behind and taking care of them. That's the whole genesis of the wingman concept. In our environment, what it really means, it goes back to what I talked about, the importance of why I believe the tactical pause, if you want to call it that, which is what we've called it, is so important. It's us looking out for each other. It's us noticing something within our workplace and being willing to go, you aren't wearing any makeup today, and you always do. Is everything okay? Or your uniform doesn't look right. Your uniform always looks impeccable. Is there anything going on that I need to be aware of? Or just asking, how are you doing? You never, don't ever underappreciate how important that is to our people. The reality of it is the men and women that work within this command spend more time working in the command than they probably spend with their families. And we need to be looking out for each other because each and every one of you is critical to our ability to execute the mission. So that's really what the wingman concept means to me.
Thanks, sir. So I'm going to circle back just on the PT question. We've seen many comments that have come in talking about this being kind of a hit to morale. What advice do you give to those folks out there? Because obviously this was a business decision, and it's a hard decision to make.
It is.
So what do you say to those folks who may want to look for work elsewhere because this was a nice perk that was part of their civilian employment?
So I hope that we don't have people that do that, but I do understand that things play out in your calculus as to where you want to work, and that's a decision that everyone gets to make. What I would encourage you to do is talk to your leadership and talk to the folks that represent you, talk to your leadership, communicate your concerns so that they are heard. I had a telecon this morning discussing this very topic with someone. So what I would encourage you to do, if it is that a morale hit, if you are feeling that way and there are things there, I would encourage you to make those feelings known to your immediate supervisors and your leadership chain so that they can consider those as we go forward. That'd be the best advice I could give you.
Thanks, sir. So we'll circle back on another question here too, on the wingman concept. How does this apply to contractors, and what support can we give to them?
Yeah, that's one that's a little bit different in how we've done a lot of the activities. Our contractor workforce, we are heavily dependent on contractors supporting our mission. What I encourage is look for those opportunities to include as best we can our contractor workforce. I still believe we need to talk to our contractor workforce and ask them how they're doing if we see something there that appears out of the normal. There may be limitations in what we can do. If you are in a workplace environment where you see something like that or you're worried about it, I would encourage you to bring it up to your first level supervisor or your material leader, squadron commander, squadron director, those type of folks so that they are aware and they can engage. We do need to look out for those folks because we are heavily dependent on the great work they do for us as well.
Okay, thanks, sir. So shifting just a bit, this is a fairly long question that had come in previously to talk about the relationship that AFMC has with the Air Force Government Employees Union. Obviously, there's been quite a bit of activity over the past year with the executive orders that were issued back in 2018. Where are we with that, and how does the command view that union relationship?
So I believe our relationship and our partnership agreement is important. I started my first interactions with the union weren't when I was Captain Bunch flying the B-2, but more when I was Lieutenant Colonel Bunch as a squadron commander in the 419th Flight Test Squadron is when I started dealing with unions and having that dialogue and making sure. I think that partnership is important. I think that dialogue must continue. I believe we have a great relationship with and a great partnership agreement with our union partners. And I hope that that just continues. There are things that are going on at a level that are beyond us that I can't control. What I want us to do is to continue to dialogue. I think I have seen things that have happened in the workplace that have caused the union to get engaged, and many of those have been exactly right. They needed to engage, and there were things that we were doing as leadership that we needed to change and we needed to take steps. And the earlier we bring those up and at the lower levels we bring them up, the quicker we can get them resolved. To me, I want that dialogue to take place. I think there's a great partnership there, and I just hope we continue that great working relationship.
Okay, thanks, sir. So we're winding down on questions here.
Okay.
So last chance for anyone if you'd like to submit some questions to us. But if you could talk just a minute of where you see the command going. What's your vision for the future?
So I believe, and I've already stated it, I've told the Secretary of the Air Force, the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, and the MAJCOM commanders that are out there that if you want to get the National Defense Strategy done and you want to drive to the Air Force we need, AFMC's got to be successful. We are the most important MAJCOM in doing that. Hopefully everybody is following along on the logic here. We are the most important ones and we've got to succeed. What I'm going to do now, I am more on the road for my immersions over the coming months. I've already, like I said, I've done one of the base visits where I've learned a lot, and I'm going out and I'm looking forward to learn a lot more. I'm going to squint with my ears, as General Goldfein says. I want to listen, I want to observe, I want to learn before I set a grand strategy of we're going to do A, B, C, and D. If I came in and immediately started doing all those things, then I would say some of you should question why I didn't wait and listen and learn a little bit more before I did that. So I am learning and I am listening, and then I will pick out those areas that we need to go out and we will communicate those out that we're going to go after. There are some things that are already underway because they were underway before I even got here. So how we're going to implement S&T 2030, that strategy is underway and we're looking at how we go do that. We're looking at the test enterprise and can we be more efficient with OT and DT. That was already underway before we ever got started. So we're going to keep driving those ways. I'm looking forward to seeing the unfiltered comments I get back from the AFMC We Need surveys. And hearing what you out there in the field are telling us are the key things that you want to learn about, that I ought to be aware of so that I can learn and maybe take some steps to improve how we do our business or improve your way of doing the activities in your area or the life that we're living out there in the field. So that's kind of how I see us going forward.
Okay. Well, sir, that's all the questions we have. Are there any parting thoughts for the command?
Thank you. Thank you for what you're doing each and every day. It is an honor and a privilege to work for and with you. Caroline and I are thrilled to be the leadership team that's here now. I serve you. We work for you. As I said earlier, I'm in the global. If you don't feel like something's being listened to, find me in the global and hit me with an email, okay? Doesn't bother me at all. I get a few emails, but I'm happy to read yours when they come in. So thanks for being a part of this. Give us your feedback. And thanks for what you do each and every day to make us successful. And everybody have a great day. Thanks.
Sir, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Thank you to all of you for participating today. If we didn't answer your questions online, you can expect a direct follow-up from us, and we appreciate you tuning in. Thank you.